Alright, time for Fullest House, first edition, where we are playing Vaettiheim. It is turn 57. We're going for Pythium's capital again. Finally going to get our assassin in motion. He's been loafing for most of the game. We finished research in thaumaturgy. We're moving our pretender around, casting Woven Winter. Yeah, okay, no information about where the temperature scales go. We'll have to take a look at that. A few casts of Bowl of Blood. Again, we're not really expecting. Yeah, we missed with both, but eventually maybe we'll find a really useful blood site. Also, our mundane or regular site searching, not so successful, but we do find 2 sites. Crypt in the Sand sounds intriguing. Not familiar with that site. This is a nature gem. Our blood hunting is expanding, although we are having some unrest problems in places. We should probably, maybe I'll take a turn where we look at our blood hunting in detail. But definitely, like some of these places, the unrest is somewhat significant. So again, always a little behind on the patrollers. And then we have an assassination attempt. It's just against a mundane commander. So, we'll see. This kit is definitely untested, and we've got none of the Pokemon items. So, that's a bit skeptical, a bit suspicious, because those are the most efficient items. But still, Dimveti are, pretty effective. Yeah, we've got some bleeding. All right, so that worked out for us. And as well it should, considering what we invested and what we were up against. But, glad to see that work out. And then this is our army moving forward. Yeah, and it looks like Utgard is also jumping in now because we lost one of the provinces on their border, and they're obviously well aware that we're going to be attacking. And yeah, this army has not moved because it lost its leadership, although a mage did move in. And of course, it gets leadership from the province defense. And, there's a lot of stuff here, enough to trigger gem usage. So Wailing Winds does go off for us. So it's good to know that the scripting on that works, but yeah, it is always sad to be spending gems. There is a decent amount of stuff here, but yeah, we don't have a ton of units, which is probably why the gem expenditure got triggered. But we make a good amount of skeletons. Not as many skeletons as I would have liked. Our skeleton production is still a little on the lackluster side. Also, I'm not really sure. May have to put this caster on conservative gem usage, because I'm pretty sure I gave her a death gem. I'll have to double check that, but she was supposed to cast Soul Vortex. Probably best that she didn't. There's a lot of other bodyguards that got mixed in. I thought that, had given enough space for this commander. Maybe that's why she chose not to cast it, although I don't know. They don't seem too concerned about friendly fire with Soul Vortex, so probably not. Probably just forgot to give her the gem. That will help with our skeleton production, because, we've talked about it before. It's good at the start, but we just don't have the longevity that we would like. But, yeah, there's not a whole lot here, so we are able to run this over. And so, okay, so it looks like we did burn out the communion. Which is fine, other than the fact that, we haven't actually fought the main battle yet. And I don't know if we have anybody available to take over. We could use some of our more expensive mages, but we'll probably burn them out as well. So that's not ideal, but, that is kind of why we went with a fairly minimum communion. So yeah, we'll have to rethink that, but it does work out for us pretty well otherwise. Not a lot of casualties, and we do wipe out a lot of units, although again, we're up against the AI here. No great feat, no mages there. And then yeah, Utgard is sending a raider in, so yeah, we'll see. If they try to lock down Pythium's capital, that's not really going to work for us, and maybe that'll make our decision. But if they snipe a couple bordering provinces, we can't really complain too much. We sniped some of Raga's territory, and we didn't really do any of the lifting there. Let's see if this fellow has poison resistance. He does not, but he probably has enough regen that it won't matter. Let's see. It looks like he's set to cast spells, which is kind of interesting. So, but yeah, I think there's only a little bit of poison here, and he's fairly killy. Yeah, so he probably did get poisoned a little bit. Maybe not, actually, and that was pretty much the only threat to him, so I think he's going to be able to come away with that without too much trouble. Yep, so we will need to think about how we're going to get rid of some of these werewolves. The magic resistance is not that high, although I do think Utgard has been good about giving him magic resistance gear. Yeah, so 21 magic resistance, much tougher. Probably just a couple great swords of sharpness is going to be the way to go against this guy. Protection not that high. Defense skill is solid, so we're going to need somebody that can, actually carry the sword effectively. And of course, with Divine Shield, they're going to need to have decent magic resistance to avoid that effect. But yeah, a pretty pretty solid thug, I would say. Not cheap is probably the only downside. And definitely, more set up for chaff clearing, but still an effective chaff clearing thug, I would say. And then, here comes our attempt against Pythala. The absolute massive monkeys. With caster support, with sacred support, and so we're trying to get all of our buffs on. It looks like we already lost a mage, probably with some magic duel. It does look like we managed to get body ethereal off on our main person though, so that is good. And then a bunch of arrows coming in. We're not going to love that. We more or less have all of like the main buffs on our main super combatant. That is one thing I found out. I was planning on switching the shade mail out with our armor of knights, but you can't do that if you're hiding in a province, which makes sense. You can switch it, but then you have to attack the province that you're in. You can't like sneak out of it to attack a neighboring province. So if we'd snuck everyone in and then tried to change armor on top of Pythala, that would have worked. Put that in quotes, because we definitely would have gotten patrolled out, at least some of our units. So we don't have as much armor as before, but we do have a bunch of the buffs, and of course now with foul vapors going, we're definitely not going to get rid of the Nagas, but again, the hope is that the monkeys represent enough HP that will cause a rout. We're routing off a lot of the Markata already. The other dangerous thing is that does mean that potentially their sacreds are going to surround us, so this may result in the death of our super combatant, because we don't have that nice like chaff shield anymore. It looks like most of the monkeys are gone. There we go. Armies of Pythala are routed, so it did work. It was looking a little risky there. They hadn't managed to deal too much damage yet, I don't think. It looks like we would have been relatively safe. Here's, a couple of hits from the Naga warriors, all for 0 damage. So, of course, with exploding die, a few of those would have gotten through. But there was no Ravenous Swarm, which I was a little surprised about. Maybe he just doesn't have the research. Obviously, Pythala's been on like a single province, really, for a long, long time. And they may have been doing other research, and they don't have that many mages, and et cetera, et cetera. So that does work out for us, and we do lose a lot of our supporting mages, so it's not without cost, but considering what we take out, I'm pretty happy with that. We'll see what Gath has to say. I'm sure they will not be happy. On the other hand, they've had literally almost the entire game, like we're talking 57 turns. It hasn't actually been that long. But not far off, right? Like Pythala's been down to it, since like early to mid turn 20. And they have since taken a capital, Arcocephaly, that we were planning on taking in our war against Raga, right? So like they have been saving Pythala for a really long time. So anyway, we'll see where that leads us. Probably to war. And then this is our own province, right? So this is the result of Woven Winter, cold +3, which we're happy about. But that'll probably just bring Pythala down to neutral, right? Which is the province that we're really interested in. So we'll take a look after this. Interesting, I guess. These spells do occur after the battles, right? And that is important sometimes. So, if you're going to be having a battle the next turn and the temperature scales really matter, the temperature moving spells will not help you that same turn. You got to be one turn ahead. So, cold +3. So worst case scenario, we're at neutral temperature in Pythala, although I do see some snow on the ground here, so I think we're good, and we froze the river. Probably also being helped out by the fact that it just hit winter. The forest has grown wild. We lose some province income. That's okay. We don't manage to collect any taxes somewhere. Ooh, this is an assassination attempt. People are unhappy about this whole blood hunt situation. But it's probably just a peasant or something like that. I think our, mage should be able to handle that. Yeah. Good luck, Finfag. I don't think this is going to go well for you, although we don't really have any kit or anything on our giantess, so, that's a little on the scary side. Probably should provide, like, some bodyguards or something, but, Frozen Heart takes care of it. It's a hard life being a peasant in Dominions, and then, we catch a bunch of sneaking enemies. So Scout from Pythium on Pangea, we don't really care about what the AI is up to. Ooh, we get rid of a false prophet. Happy about that. I didn't even realize there was a false prophet here. We just have these great eagles kind of in a holding pattern, but they are excellent patrollers. And then we also knock out a scout from Midgard in that same province. And then again, AI Pythium somewhere random. We lose one of our own scouts to Gath, so that's a bit unfortunate in terms of the timing. But we are interested in them. Everybody scouts everybody, so, we'll see. And then we also lose one of our scouts in Satis. This is interesting because I don't believe that this is a fort. So, they just maybe blood hunting, or I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't think Satis gets much, if any, in the way of blood, but maybe they found some independents or brought in some vampires or something like that. But yeah, or maybe there's just a lot of stealthy units from Relay. Relay does get some assassins, so this might be related to that. Let me finish our palisade. And then, of course, Potala is unharmed, but we should have our army in position next door. And if the river is indeed frozen, we will move across next turn and, start to make progress. And I'll catch you guys after the jump.
All right, this was the situation and what we did about it. Probably most importantly, we are marching on Pythium's capital. We've just seen this army in action, and here's what we've got. We are relying a lot on Wailing Winds, but we also have a decent amount of skeleton generation, along with plenty of other supporting spells. And of course, we're only going to be up against the AI. It's really mostly garbage here. There seem to be more mages than anything else, which potentially indicates an army size item, probably, which is good news. So, Pythium doesn't have much left in the tank, I think. Some of these summons are a bit dangerous, but yeah, we should be fine. So that's going pretty well, though this province that Utgard took is not ideal. It does actually cut us off from one of the provinces that we already took. This province, right, it's not really worth going to war, so hopefully we'll come to an agreement here with them. It would be nice, to hold on to this province just so that, we actually border the throne. But at the end of the day, going through a couple of provinces to get to a throne is not the end of the world. And we are busy antagonizing other of our neighbors. So our army is able to cross the river here, and we're going to get some great eagles. So we're going to have a lot of siege strength sitting on top of Potala. We should be able to get the crack relatively quickly. Not expecting a lot of resistance inside. Obviously, Potala's been down to it. We do see, we've seen these Sa'ir just hanging out here, and there are some mages, possibly sight searching, but probably was planning on jumping in, I guess. I don't know. This still feels like not enough. However, to the north here, we do see, a group of giant sacreds on the move. So yeah, Gath is relatively large and, more or less uncommitted right now. So yeah, we'll see what they have to say. But we have a pretty strong army down here. There's actually, it's got some of our demon summons in it. In fact, quite a few of our demon summons. We've left behind the demon knights and the actual devils, since, devils being susceptible to cold are a little challenging for Vaettiheim to use, since we do like it cold. We do a lot of cold magic, and, certainly we wouldn't want those guys with the Rim Vetti. But anyway, we've moved out a good number of our demons into this army, so it's fairly strong, and we should be able to dissuade Gath from jumping in against us. In terms of other interesting things, we are spending some of our astral pearls on an Ether Gate casting. So this will give us an Ether Lord who has some interesting cross paths, though most of which we have handled nationally, and I think actually the rest we might actually have from independence, but still a very powerful caster on a pretty survivable chassis. Also comes with a good number of Ether Warriors, which are pretty good, just units, kind of good elite units. So it's 90 Astral Pearls, but we have a lot of Astral Pearls, and we don't have a ton of outlets for them right now. So yeah, a lot of people don't like this spell. Completely understand it. It is really expensive, even for what you get, but what you get is pretty good. So anyway, we're casting that, and then we're also dumping, pretty much all of our blood slaves, a lot of our blood slaves, into bringing in Father Illerth somewhere. Yeah, our pretender. So he's going to bring in Father Illerth. This is the corrupted Earth Lord, and he's got, high earth and high blood. And it's just, kind of a useful, super combatant and or centerpiece caster, just all around a tough chassis. So, yeah, we're going to give it a shot. If he's already been summoned, this will just be a waste of gems and or blood slaves. So we'll see how that goes. We'll take a quick look at research, though I won't really comment on it, since the live narration will pick up next turn. Yeah, we will grab Construction 7 this next turn, and then we're headed up to Alteration 8. And then I have often threatened, but I don't think I actually ever carry through on it, taking a closer look at our blood hunting. So let's go ahead and do that now. So our operation that's doing the best, at least currently, has 5 blood hunters, captured 40 blood slaves in this province. So we can see population 6,400. This is over the threshold at which blood hunting really starts to drop off. I actually don't remember the threshold offhand. I've been playing too much Dominion 6 lately. I think it's 6,000, but it could be 5,000. Regardless, I feel like this is right about the sweet spot in terms of population, so perhaps something to do with our success. But also of note, like the unrest is relatively low. 19 is not great, but it's not incredibly high or anything like that. We don't actually have a ton of patrollers here, like some, but a lot of the patrollers that we have, right, undisciplined, they don't actually provide like a ton of patrol strength. Yeah, I mean, these birds, they provide the same amount of patrol strength as like, regular militia or something like that. So, we have a decent amount of patrol strength here, but not a ton. Probably, definitely could use improvement, right? So we could actually improve on this. Part of it, I think, is just because we're hunting with blood 2s, right? And then with the boosters that we have, the dowsing rod, they from a blood hunting standpoint, they are blood 3s. We also have a blood 1 who's been boosted to a blood 2. We have 2 of those. Right, so we're running 5 blood hunters, but a good chunk of them are, pretty high level in terms of blood searching. Conversely, the location where it's going the worst is we only have 3 blood hunters there, and we've only captured 9 blood slaves. And so, part of this is just fewer blood hunters, but you can see the unrest is significantly higher here, unrest 49. So, a combination of factors. If I really wanted to be scientific about this, I would put together some identical, blood hunting groups. Obviously, we have multiple variables that are shifting here, so it's kind of hard to identify what matters the most. But we do have a blood 2 here, that's been boosted to blood 3, and then 2 of the blood 1s that have been boosted to blood 2. Patrol strength wise, obviously, like this is insufficient, though I do think some of this moved in relatively recently. But yeah, the goblins I think aren't great for patrol strength. No, okay, they're just average. But still, we've got 77 units here, which is not a ton of chaff, but it's not nothing. And you can see that even with just 3 blood hunters, like this province is getting kind of overwhelmed. So you do need a lot of patrollers for your blood hunting. Or perhaps, more efficient patrollers would be another way that you go. We don't necessarily need to look at all of these, but this one here, we've got 5 blood hunters, and they've only managed to capture 2 more blood slaves than a location that, has 2 less blood hunters. So probably worth taking a look at what's going on here. This is where we have the steel ovens. Unrest 32. So, there's less unrest here. And then here is our blood hunting crew. So we have one of the boosted blood 2s. The rest of them are boosted blood 1s. So certainly fewer blood 2s than our province that was doing really well, but a lot of blood hunters, and a lower unrest. In terms of patrollers, we've got a few of these bone fiends who, as I recall, are actually better than average, right? Even though their precision is quite low, I think, their map move is quite high. So I think that's what is boosting them above just average. Of course, we don't have to pay them upkeep, which is really nice. Then we got 60 of just our average patrollers, a mix of goblins and birds, and then, some more goblins down here. So, a good amount of patrollers, more than some of the other provinces, not a lot more, but still, right, kind of an odd result. And, it is randomized. So, I think this kind of highlights that, because there's really no reason that this, province should be producing less blood slaves than the other one that we looked at, right? It has more blood hunters, it has less unrest, it has more patrollers. Actually, we did not look at population. 7,200 in this province. We'll go take a look at the other one, but that should be more than enough population, right? It's more than the one where we got, 40 blood slaves, same amount of blood hunters. Now, again, the location where we got the most blood slaves, we did have a higher level blood hunters overall. So, perhaps that is the reason. But very similar population actually between these two. So I think this is probably just a result, like our Steel Ovens province just rolled really poorly this turn. But at the end of the day, right, the more provinces that you have blood hunting, the more blood slaves you're going to be getting. So that is probably the quickest and easiest way to increase your blood income. But hopefully taking a look at some of these factors, even though not exactly scientifically set up, we'll kind of highlight some of the pluses and minuses. I suppose before we exit, this 6 Blood Hunters, 26 is a lot better than some of our other results, but still like significantly worse than getting 4 Blood Slaves, and we have an extra Blood Hunter, so we'll take a quick look at that. And then like here we have a good amount, like half of them are Blood 1s, like all of them have the Blood Searching item, but the other half are Blood 2s. Population here, though, is probably a factor. So we're down to 4,800 in this location. We got 20 unrest here. So, our patrolling, is a little on the lackluster side. So probably a combination of, less population and fewer patrollers. A quick look. Well, a look at our blood hunting. And then, in terms of what's going on in the world, I don't think the situation overall has changed too much. Obviously, I am somewhat removed from this game now, but we haven't really caught many battles between people. That scout that we lost on Satis's border is, their border with Midgard, right? So perhaps they're worried about elves, but, hard to say. Of course, probably the most interesting thing that's going on is the merfolk people are sieging Marignon's capital, so hopefully there's lots of assassinations going on there, because, we would like this player to be slowed down. This is not looking great for Marignon, but hasn't been looking great for Marignon, and they've been able to hold on for quite a while here. But otherwise, not a whole lot of conflicts brewing, which potentially could be a problem. Like Utgard especially, is quite a large neighbor on our border. Otherwise, probably the most dangerous neighbor that we have, I would guess, would be Gath. Potentially Satis, but we don't actually have that big of a border with Satis. They're probably about the same size as Gath. Late age Satis, usually not considered too much of a threat. But the fact that the player has managed to pilot it so far, and as I recall, I think they killed off Lemuria. Yeah, they killed off Lemuria. So I don't know. I think the person piloting definitely matters. So a little bit worried about Satis, but because we have such a small border, shouldn't really be a concern. And I think that more or less covers turn 57.